Thank you for joining me again, everyone. Defensive side of the ball today. A little over a week ago, I did an offensive target board. Today is the defensive target board, going D ends to D tackles. Then we'll move on to the linebackers and, of course, the DBs. Really, really good list of guys. Marcus Freeman is recruiting at an elite level, a level Notre Dame has not reached on either side of the ball in a long time. I don't want to say since Barry Alvarez in the 80s, but it's been a while. It has been a while for sure. Cyrus Moss, 6'4", 220, DN from Bishop Gorman High School in Vegas. No one really has a clue in this recruitment right now. USC, Clemson, Bama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame are a few to know. I think this will probably come down to USC, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, maybe Clemson. But honestly, if Notre Dame pushes and Notre Dame spots don't fill up, he's going to end up in this Notre Dame class in my mind. I do like to make some reach picks, and this might be one. But regardless, I like him ending up in this class. And he's a Notre Dame type of kid. DJ Wesolak, 6'5", 225-pound. Weak side defensive end from Boonville, Missouri. Pretty much middle of nowhere in Missouri. If you want to say that helps or doesn't Notre Dame, that's up to you. But he's in the Rivals top 250. A lot of buzz right now with Missouri. Oklahoma's making a little bit of noise. If he gets an Alabama or even a Georgia offer, that would probably create some noise too. But that's all noise. I think in the end, if Notre Dame pushes, they're going to land him too. And I don't think people get worried about, if they offer, it's over. Not at all. If Notre Dame pushes, it's really up to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one of these top 10 schools undoubtedly in the country. They're not just going to lose a prospect because of their name. They're going to lose a prospect because they don't push or the prospect doesn't want the school. That's just how it works. There's no Notre Dame failed in this recruitment. You can say that with Will Shipley. Notre Dame pushed as hard as they could. They were going to have him on campus in late March, and then the pandemic took over, and he wanted to stay close to home. You can't blame a kid for that. Wilfredo Abar from Cheshire Academy, a school just like Notre Dame in central Connecticut. I think he's going to end up at Notre Dame if they push. It's the same thing, guys. Honestly, all these kids could end up at Notre Dame if they push, other than maybe Isaac Ham. And then you could say the same thing with Cyrus Moss. But Abar is getting a lot of love from the Floridas, Miami, Florida State, Florida. USC's in the mix. Boston College is, of course, all over him. And then Notre Dame's right up there, too. Really no leaders in this recruitment, at least right now. In 2 months, when I make this video again, that will probably change. But with visits not being open and him not really taking any self-guided tours, it's pretty much all over the place. Tyson Ford, Notre Dame commit. We've talked about him. I just put him on this board for you guys to see. Isaac Ham, Notre Dame's a good second in this recruitment. He's released a top 4. One of the only prospects to release a top group, or at least a meaningful top group. Only these 8 offers, guys. Don't get upset about that. They're all from fine schools. Ohio State has offered. Actually, I don't believe Ohio State has offered, but Ohio State has big interest. And if they offer, which they most likely will, you can put them there. But Penn State is probably 4th. I'd put Ohio State 3rd, Wisconsin 1st, Notre Dame in 2nd right now. But this recruitment can go any way. He worked really hard. He got his grades up to earn the Notre Dame offer about 4 months ago, 3 months ago. I believe it was October when he got the offer. You see him pictured in an Iowa jersey. If something falls apart, I bet Iowa comes in this. Also has a Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana offer. He has all the Big Ten offers, guys. He's a Big Ten kid. He's going to stay in the Midwest pretty much no matter what. And I think Notre Dame will finish 2nd. They push. They could probably land him, but I'm not a huge fan of his game. Alex Bauman, another kid who I don't love. I think he's actually, if he gets some work done, like what I'm trying to say, if he gets on campus and really falls in love with Notre Dame, Of course, after he didn't roll because he's been on campus, his older brother is one of the backup tight ends for the Irish, Kevin Bauman, who was in the 2020 class. If he really commits to the culture, he can start. I'm not going to say none of these kids can start. I don't like Isaac Ham's game, but that doesn't mean if he does end up at Notre Dame, he's going to be bad. I don't mean that at all. What I'm saying by this is I don't know if they deserve the Notre Dame offer right now. Moss, Ford, Westerlack, Abar, I think they all do. Ham and Bauman, I'm not sure. I'm not going to be, if they're a low-ranked guy, they don't deserve it. Not at all. Not at all. A guy like Cooper Barricky, who is, I believe, a 5'5" on Rivals, I think that kid is a stud. We're going to talk about him a little bit. I think that kid is a straight stud. And I love his game at wide receiver, safety, and corner. All right, move on to the next board. Got the defensive tackles with a mix of the inside linebackers. Caden Curry, Indianapolis kid, lives in a very pro Big Ten area, has been linked to Ohio State for a while. There are some 247 crystal balls for him to end up in Columbus. Notre Dame's probably a second right now, third or fourth. He got a Clemson offer recently. Alabama's been showing him a lot of love, as well as Ohio State, of course. It's going to be a tough one for Notre Dame to pull out if they really do commit to Caden Curry. But if they don't end up landing Caden Curry, they got a lot of options. They got Donovan Heinisch, who I think will end up at Notre Dame if Notre Dame wants him in this class. I'm not really going to talk much about him since I just talked about him in one of my more recent videos. Keith Miles Jr., another one of those kids. Just got a Florida State offer. He's been getting a lot of love from Georgia, Arizona State, Michigan, Ole Miss. A few months ago, I feel like Keith Miles was bound to end up at Notre Dame. In the past few weeks, I don't know what's been happening, but I don't know if I can't feel the same way. I don't know how hard Mike Elson is pushing. I don't know if Marcus Freeman really wants him in this class because Marcus Freeman can change his mind on some of these kids. And that might have happened here with the Jersey kid. Caleb Artis, a New York kid, rare for a New York kid to be ranked this high. He's just on the grasp of a 4-star rating on 247. 6'5", 270. He's a really raw kid. He reminds me of an Ade Ogundeji, kid who hasn't played a ton of football. I'm not really sure if Caleb Artis has, but just his film is a little raw. If he puts in a lot of work, I really think he could be a vital contributor for Notre Dame. If he does end up at Notre Dame, he has some offers from some other Big Ten and ACC schools, but it really depends how hard Notre Dame wants him in this class, and they push for him to be in this class. Langston Patterson, 3-star linebacker from Tennessee. If Clemson offers, he's ending up at Clemson. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to say it right now. His older brother plays for the Tigers. He was at the Notre Dame-Clemson game in South Bend due to Notre Dame allowing opposing team's family to come and see their kids play, and Langston Patterson was in attendance, took a photo, posted on Twitter, said he loved the visit. I really think Langston Patterson could end up in this class. If there's no Clemson offer, if there is Clemson offer, I don't love the odds, but we'll see. Just a heads up, I do think Clemson will offer eventually. They're probably going to wait until this summer or late this spring to do so, but they are in contact with him, and they know his interest in the school. Nwankpa Tuhilimaka, one of the more recent Notre Dame offers and one of the more exciting Notre Dame offers. I think Notre Dame's going to come away with Nwankpa Tuhilimaka's signature this December. Ohio State reached out once he decommitted from USC. I believe Ole Miss maybe did too. It's going to be a USC Notre Dame dogfight here. Oregon, Stanford are also involved, but I think he's the type of kid that wants to go to the country, and he wants to get to Notre Dame as soon as possible. And once he gets to the Grotto, once he gets to South Bend, sees the stadium, sees the student life, he's going to fit right in. Bishop Alamany, it's a very similar school, at least high school, to Notre Dame. It translates well, and Brian Polian, boy, does he recruit California and the islands well. And Nafuyi Tolimaka is from the West Coast. All right. A little under halfway. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. CJ Hicks, one of the more coveted players in the country in this 2022 class. Boy, if Notre Dame could come away with his services, just be an absolutely massive pickup. Absolutely massive. 5-star everywhere and anywhere. He's committed to Ohio State since May 1st. Now, that was granted in a dead period. He has posted some things about my recruitment's still open, whatever. He's listening to others, to other options. Marcus Freeman was really, really pushing for him to end up at Cincinnati. Well, Marcus Freeman left. And CJ Hicks did have some early interest with Notre Dame. I'm not sure if he's gone on campus yet. I believe he might have for a game last fall. But if Marcus Freeman pushes the same way he did at Cincinnati, he can promise him a title at Notre Dame. He can promise him better academics. He can promise him all this stuff other than proximity to where he's from in Kettering, Ohio, which is, of course, a little bit closer to Columbus than it is to South Bend. But, hey, he's not even a senior yet, guys. We got a lot of time left in this recruitment, and that's why I do have him in the thumbnail and the title. I think he has legitimate interest in the Irish. Davon Jackson, Omaha, Nebraska, linebacker. I just think spots will fill up before he has decided. He wants to wait it out, take all of his visits. He has a lot of interest in Nebraska, Michigan, Iowa State, Notre Dame. I really think he's going to end up at either a Big 12 or a Big 10 school. And we'll see where that is. If Nebraska puts all their chips in his basket, he'll probably end up there. If I had to pick, I think he will end up at Nebraska, but we'll see. It really depends on Notre Dame spots. Joshua Burnham, Traverse City Central linebacker. Picks are all in for Michigan, but these picks were made a long time ago, and there's a lot of time left. Traverse City is similar to South Bend in a lot of ways. And Joshua Burnham, I think, will fit in with South Bend and will fit in with the culture at Notre Dame very well. He's a high academic kid. He's a hell of a football player. He's ranked 145 in the country. And this recruitment's far from over. He's not committed. He's just a junior in his second semester, guys. He's not a senior in his second semester needing to hurry the stuff. He's going to wait, take all of his visits, and see what happens. Robbie Snelling, current Stanford baseball commit. Yes, I said that. Robbie Snelling is a stud on the diamond and on the feet and on the turf. He wants to go out and see Auburn, Ole Miss, Nebraska. He wants to see all these schools. He's going to have to wait, though, dead period extended until April 17th. But once April 17th hits, he's gonna go to Notre Dame, probably first, and then I'll see the rest of these schools. I expect him to back off of his Stanford baseball pledge in the coming days or weeks. And it really depends how much Notre Dame baseball wants him as well, because he is committed to playing two sports in high school, just like in college, just like Cole Kmet did, just like Jaden Thomas, class of 2021, Notre Dame signee, is planning on doing. Torrey Hunter did it years ago. Notre Dame's baseball is good. It's not legit. It's not terrible. And for anyone that doesn't know, legit in slang terms means very good, means elite or top 10, top 15 consensus. Ole Miss, on the other hand, is an elite baseball school, consistently ranked in the top 5 and 10. And hey, I don't know if he has a Vanderbilt offer yet, but a Vanderbilt offer would 100% shake some things up here. Clark Lee, of course, the old Notre Dame defensive coordinator, current Vanderbilt head coach, was close with Snelling, has talked to him multiple times, maybe even dozens of times. And he's a linebackers coach. He really, really was committed to developing these linebackers at Notre Dame, as well as the rest of the positions, but he specialized in linebackers. Snelling was one of his top targets, and Vanderbilt pretty much undeniably is the top baseball school in the country. High academic kid. Is committed to Stanford. Vanderbilt's a very high academic school as well. Maybe a little bit higher than Notre Dame on some of the rankings, but in the same universe, I guess, in the same spectrum. But Notre Dame's the team to beat here, undeniably. He's very close with Nick Lazinski, current linebacker assistant coach, maybe grad transfer or grad coach as well. There are a bunch of random titles that these guys hold, but he's recruiting most of these linebackers, and he's developed a very strong relationship with Snelling. That took forever. Let's move on to Teva Tafiti, weak side defensive end from Punahou High School in Honolulu, Hawaii. This is the school Manti Te'o went to, the school Marcus Mariota went to. Tua might have gone here as well. Don't quote me on that. But he's going to end up in Notre Dame. I'm near 100% certain. Picks are in on 247 and Rivals for him to end up in South Bend. Just the Hawaiian heritage, Brian Poyer's relationship with him. This is pretty much a no-brainer for me that he ends up in South Bend. Sebastian Cheeks, another one of the near locks in this 2022 Notre Dame class from Evanston High School in Chicago. He's played 5 varsity football games. 5. And he's the 105th ranked player in the country, which is absolutely insane. Illinois recently offered, I believe some SEC schools just dished out some offers, but Cheeks is going to end up in this class. He was close with Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman was recruiting him when he was at Cincinnati. And Marcus Freeman ending up at Notre Dame is pretty much the best guy that could have landed in this position because, of course, Clark Lee left, and Sebastian Cheeks was pretty close with Clark Lee. One quick note, Sebastian Cheeks did land an offer from Vanderbilt a few days ago. But still, he's going to end up at Notre Dame in my mind. All right. I believe this is the last slide. Nope, we got one more. Probably another 10 minutes of coverage. Cooper Barakate, safety, wide receiver, cornerback from Mater Dei High School in California. He played at a different school. I forget the name, his freshman and sophomore year. It was lower competition, though, as a lot of these schools in California are either really, really good, as in Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, or not so great in the smaller, more private public schools. Notre Dame offered about a week ago. He's been to campus 3 times, and he ends up in this class. The only school I'm really worried about is USC. They have not offered. They've been in contact, though. If USC offers, they're going to give Notre Dame a run for their money, but this kid is just a Notre Dame prototype, and I'm really, really confident he ends up in this class. Jared Kerr, 3-star from Texas. Notre Dame re-offered him. This is probably one of the lower-ranked and one of the more unconfident I'm laying that Notre Dame kids on the entire defensive side of the ball board that I just made. If you're new, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. He's going to end up at UT Austin, Baylor, one of the Big 12 schools. I'm not really confident in Notre Dame's chances here. He's from the South. He's from Texas. And I don't know how much he really likes Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's good, but down there, Notre Dame isn't the same as it is up here in the Midwest. Jake Pope, safety from Buford, Georgia, has been linked to UNC, been linked to Notre Dame, and even been linked to Alabama as of late. He picked up an Alabama offer, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, which was absolutely massive for him. Alabama's no doubt in his top 3 right now, along with Notre Dame and UNC. And this recruitment can pretty much go anyway. I could see him ending up at Chapel Hill. I could see him ending up in Tuscaloosa, and I could see him ending up in South Bend. If Clemson offers, though, I like Clemson's odds more than those 3 schools. But Clemson has yet to offer. He is, though, in contact with the Clemson staff. Xavier Nwankpa, I believe he's the number 36 ranked player in 247, number 79 on Rivals. Iowa State, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Notre Dame are pretty much at the top of his list right now. Marcus Freeman is on the record saying Xavier Nwankpa will be one of our main targets here. Wow. Guys, I think Marcus Freeman's actually going to land Xavier Nwankpa. I am dead honest about that. Now, is he in Ohio State lead right now? Yes. I think Ohio State is in the lead right now, and I think they will be for a few weeks. But once he gets back on Notre Dame's campus, gets to interact with Marcus Freeman and the staff, gets to meet Brian Kelly. He was there in South Bend, I believe, one weekend last year for a game. I forget which game. Took some pictures, though. I don't know. This recruitment, I believe, will be a long one. I don't expect him to commit until next fall, next winter, probably after his football season, as he plays for Powerhouse Southeast Polk over there in Iowa. But guy's a big name to watch. And if he ends up in Notre Dame, I really think he's going to be a first-year starter. I think he's the next Kyle Hamilton. And I think he could legitimately be a first- or second-round pick. And he's a junior in high school. That's how confident I am in his abilities wherever he goes to school. Miles Rouser, former Michigan commit and current Michigan lean. His older brother does play for the Wolverines from just outside Detroit. Had a good season this fall, not a great one. Has dealt with a few injuries. Alabama's up there. Florida State are up there. But Notre Dame's probably in second right now. But I think Michigan has a slight edge over the Irish. And I think he'll end up in Ann Arbor, as much as I hate to say that. I think he will end up at Michigan. Sherrod Koval, safety from Southern Virginia, Chesapeake, Virginia in specific. UVA, UNC, Auburn, pretty much all the ACC schools are showing him a bunch of love right now, showing him a lot of love, He did mention Notre Dame is probably his top school or second top school in a recent interview at IMG Academy for a 7-on-7 skills tournament, which is pretty much the only form of tournament and evaluation all these recruiters and analysts have. So just be on the lookout for videos of those. I'll probably make a few in the near future. But Koval's talented. He's definitely better than a 5'7" Rivals rating. I'm kind of shocked he's that low. Sure, he's a little undersized, only at 6 foot, 180, but he puts on another inch or two. He's going to be at least a 5'8" Rivals rating and most likely a 4-star and 247 as well. Last slide of the day, Toriano Pride, 5'11" cornerback from St. Louis, Missouri. His recruitment is really blowing up. 27 offers. Clemson, Florida State, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama are a few to know here. I think Missouri is probably in the lead by a slight bit right now, but don't expect that to last. I don't really think he's going to end up in Columbia. I think he's going to end up at one of the SEC powerhouses, Clemson or Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman definitely has some ground to catch up on, but Marcus Freeman has said he wants Toriano Pride in this class, and he's probably the highest rated DB that Notre Dame has a legitimate shot with. Keenan Nelson Jr., I'm going to skip ahead, is probably the other highest rated guy that Notre Dame has a real shot with. He's a true cornerback at 6 foot, 200 pounds. Penn State, Oregon are a few to know here. This recruitment, no one really has any clue where he's going to end up. There are no future cast picks, no 247 picks, I believe. Oregon recruits the East Coast really, really well. They target these Philly kids, these Baltimore kids, these Northern Virginia kids with a lot of pressure. You saw Dante Thornton. You saw Seven McGee. He's from New York State. Dante Thornton's from Baltimore. They really attack this. And Penn State and Oregon surprisingly get in a lot of dogfights in the recruiting trail. And this, I think, will be another one. Notre Dame's probably third, maybe fourth right now in his recruitment. I'm not too confident he ends up in South Bend, but it's Marcus Freeman, guys. We don't really know much right now. Marcus Freeman could turn on the Jets on this kid, and he could end up in this class. Davison Igbinosun, 5'7" Rivals rating. Pretty much other than Rutgers, Duke, and Boston College, he doesn't really have many P5 offers. Notre Dame, if they push, they're going to end up with him. I also will say he is better than a 5'7" Rivals ranking, just like Sherrod Koval. 6'3", 185 pounds. Kid is already as big, as lengthy. He has all the size intangibles. He's a little bit raw. I could touch up on the X and O's. But he had a solid junior year playing for Union High School over there in New Jersey. A good spring evaluation period if there does end up to be one. He'll definitely land some more big-time Power 5 offers, and This is a name to know for sure, guys. I do think he'll end up in this Notre Dame class. Jaden Gold, cornerback from Bergen Catholic High School, the same high school that Taekwon Malone goes to, 2021 D tackle. Don't worry, guys. Notre Dame is not in that recruitment. Less stress. He's probably going to end up at Florida State, Texas A&M, or Ole Miss. But Steven Angeli, a name that many Notre Dame fans know and are looking out for, is a close friend of Jaden Gold's and is the quarterback over there for Bergen Catholic. If Angeli commits this summer or this spring and Jaden Gold decides to take the long run in recruiting and wait till this winter or this fall, Angeli's going to be on him to go to Notre Dame, and I think Gold might listen. This was Notre Dame's first 2022 offer. I don't even know how, maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It was a long time ago. And Gold has expressed interest in Notre Dame. I think Michigan's probably in first right now. He released the top 12. I don't really count top 12s, top 15s. Other than a top 8, I don't really pay much attention to those. And I don't think you guys should either. They're just a bunch of lists. If you're a big-time school like Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida, Michigan, you'll end up on those lists, even if you're not in the initial one. So, guys, don't be too scared about that list. Notre Dame's on it, but I'm saying that in regards to all these recruits. Avery Powell, 5.5 Rivals rating, definitely deserves a higher grade than that. He is 5'11", 170, though a little bit undersized, even at the corner position. St. Peter's Prep, same school. George Rooks, former Notre Dame heavy target. Notre Dame kind of backed off on his recruitment. He's still uncommitted, by the way. Penn State, Michigan, and Boston College, BC are up there on his wish list. But Avery Powell released a top 15. I'm not even going to say it because it's a top 15. But Notre Dame is most definitely up there, and Notre Dame is most definitely trending in this recruitment. I don't think he's made a decision day yet or has one. But if he does, I expect Notre Dame to maybe come out on top sooner. I mean, later rather than sooner would be better for the Irish, as the Irish just offered a little over a week ago. But let's say he commits this fall or winter. I like Notre Dame's odds. Final prospect. This has been a long, long show. Nikkei Martinez, 5'10", 170-pound DB from Apoka, Florida. I said DB as he can play a little bit of safety. Clemson's pushing really hard here. Florida's pushing really hard. Florida State, Auburn, Ole Miss is making some noise. I believe he's been on campus twice for 2 games last fall. And he definitely has a lot of love for the Irish. Mike Mickens has been talking to him a lot. He had a phone call with Marcus Freeman over the weekend. I heard it went well. And this is probably one of the guys I end up in this class. Does Notre Dame lead right now? No, not at all. Notre Dame has a lot of ground to make up. But I don't think there is a leader right now, which is definitely good for Notre Dame. And Turmile at Auburn. Turmile at Florida dismissing their DB's coach and safety and cornerbacks coach. Definitely helps Notre Dame. Notre Dame has consistency. And it depends who Notre Dame brings in as their safeties coach, pass game coordinator. If that's a guy from Florida, that will definitely help. If it's not a guy from Florida, it depends who it is. We'll have to see, as recruiting, guys, is so very fluid. And that's pretty much the video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to like, subscribe. Be tuned in for the next episode. I go live at least 4 or 5 times a week with Notre Dame recruiting coverage. And yeah, comment any questions you got. I answer like 90% of them. Have a good day.